All right, let's take a look at this. Diablo 4. Big buffs and nerfs tomorrow. Fuck. I feel like as a barbarian, I'm getting... I think I'm getting kind of fucked, guys. I do. I think I'm getting kind of fucked.
Hello and welcome back to Raised Gaming and Diablo 4. The big question today is this. When are we finally getting that big balance patch that's been looming over us for a while now? We've had hotfixes.
Fuck the balance patch. When are we going to get the fucking patch that gives you experience for nightmare dungeons? I'm so fucking sick of running... Like, I don't want to run normal mode dungeons. Like, this is fucking boring. Like, I just kill everything in one hit. What the fuck?
All changes day after day after day, and then suddenly all of that stopped. And it's felt like a big balance patch with a lot of that put together into one patch seems to be coming, and it really seems like that's going to be this Tuesday, the 27th. As displayed on the launcher, both Monday and Tuesday will have live maintenances. Further, we have this really hopeful and exciting tweet from Adam Fletcher, the global community developer director for the game.
Some nightmare pushes. When do I get in? When do I have the patches out? Very, very soon. I mean, that's great. I'm glad. No, you're saying that because you're an OP barbarian? I don't think barbarian is that overpowered right now. Hoda is? I still don't think Hoda is that overpowered. Like, didn't Rob put out a video today or yesterday of him three-shotting a world boss with his necromancer? That's a lot. And yeah, Bob's Trash for Lilith, yeah. And like, yes, I think Barbarian's great for farming dungeons for sure. Like with Whirlwind, absolutely. But that's not the only thing in the game.
The awaited patch that we're looking for is coming, quote, very soon, as of June 25th, which was Sunday. And also, we generally expect Tuesdays as the patch days based on the history of the game so far. And with a major maintenance occurring over 2 days,
that's what WoW
ending
does.
On the Tuesday itself, well, it looks very likely. A neat aspect of these maintenance is that the game will actually be, yeah, more unstable than normal, but will still run. You'll still be able to play. You won't be locked out of the game, as also confirmed by Adam Fletcher. So nothing is confirmed, but they continuously skirt around the topic without direct confirmations, but heavily suggest it at this point. I don't know, do they do this as a way to protect themselves? Like maybe if there's a delay or something? That patch,
yeah, they probably just don't want to say something, because if they say something, then everybody's going to be like, but you said it! And I get that. That's smart for them to do, because I'd be probably one of those people.
It's apparently 13 pages long, which is certainly a lot bigger than anything else we've seen for balance or changes for the game so far. But either way, a balance patch is coming and is pretty overdue at this point. Whether it's Tuesday or not, what are we expecting? As discussed in various forms by the dev team, buffs are coming. So far, they've been much more on the nerf side of things with the changes, and they have acknowledged...
I think they need to buff Whirlwind and Barbarian. I don't think Barbarian's good enough. I think our survivability is too low. I just think they need to buff Barbarian, just like in general.
I'd recommend the full Fireside chat.
It is what it is.
But the general gist is that buffing has, you know, wider reaching consequences, often unintended, compared to, say, nerfing. So they've been a lot more careful in testing before letting those land, and I think that's fair enough. But with those buffs coming, what is it we're actually expecting? Which classes and why? I'll tell you what I want buffed. The stash. Give me 10 times the amount of slots and put it in.
That's a good fucking point. Holy shit, that's a good point. Yeah, the stash sucks big fat dicks. It's just annoying. It's just extremely fucking annoying.
Game immediately. I have 6 bank characters just to make space, and honestly, it's really dumb. There's no good reason for that. But aside from that and my saltiness, let's talk about what we expect and hope for in this upcoming...
Well, I swear to God, like, if they add these tabs into the store, you know, I will lose $500, right, immediately because of the bet with that guy. And... oh, fuck.
Balance patch. The number one obvious and confirmed buff is the Nightmare Dungeons and their value. As they've made it crystal clear, they want us to...
No, they don't need to increase the value of Nightmare Dungeons. They need to increase the experience. I think that, like, if you do Nightmare Dungeons a lot, like I do, you know that Nightmare Dungeons give way more ancestral items. They do. They give way more, and I can fill up an entire bag, but they don't give better experience. And the thing is, people cap out on gear anyway at like 80 to 85 usually. Probably sometimes even earlier than that. So, like, what are they really doing them for? They're doing it for the experience, not the gear.
Run Nightmare Dungeons as the end game and not really like regular dungeons for better time to XP.
Yeah, it's fucking boring.
Nerf that to prevent that. The problem...
I would be fine with dungeons for regular... I would be fine doing regular dungeons. But I'm not fine doing regular dungeons whenever I have to join a group to reset them. It's fucking annoying. And also, like, that doesn't make sense. What makes sense is that you do the hardest content and you get the best gear. That's what makes sense.
So far with that is they've done a pretty poor job of incentivizing them properly,
experience.
you know, ruining everything else to push it into something that's just okay, doesn't feel great. And you know, some of the benefits of Nightmare Dungeons weren't even explained to us in-game. Like, did you know that Nightmare Dungeons have a much higher rate for
I mean, anybody that's played the game knows this. I mean, they should have said this. It's stupid that the only way that we know this is because one of the devs said that. And I think that, like, how many you guys have all experienced this, right? Whenever you're doing like a 40, a 50, like I haven't done 60s yet, but if you're doing a 60 or higher, like way more ancestral shit drops. It's quite
ancestral
obvious.
drops. We learned that one via Twitter, again as a random reveal by the associate game director. These things really should be listed and told to you in game, maybe like when you're looking at world tiers, referencing the dungeons, I don't know. But in any case, the Nightmare Dungeons need to have more value than other content if they want to encourage players to engage with them. They've confirmed that they're increasing the XP for these generally, which is a good first step, but I'd also like to see other changes like greater elite density, maybe make the legendary RU.
I don't know if I want to see more like packs of 20 elites, but what I feel like, how many of you guys that do dungeons, like it's feast and famine, where like you're 2 fallen, 3 fallen, 1 fallen, and a fucking one of the little guys that resurrects him, a shaman, and then there's a big boy, and then 7 elites. And then 2 fallen. There's a chest. And it didn't, okay, all right, they open it, nothing there. Right? It's just like, what the fuck is this, right? Like, I think that they need to have some form of, like, higher elite density. And I think also, you know what the truth is? I don't even think they need the elite density. I think they should 10x the chance of getting treasure goblins in Nightmare Dungeons. Like, each time, like, imagine if, like, from 1 to 10 Nightmare Dungeon was, like, a 10% chance. Like 10 to 20 was a 20% chance, and it just went up from there. So like if you're doing 50s, there's like a 50% chance you're gonna get a treasure goblin. Because I think that it would be more interesting than just add more elites. Because I want to see more butchers. I want to see a Leoric. I want to see more treasure goblins. I want to see more interesting events. Goblins aren't good. They're better than fucking fallen shamans. I think goblins are cool. I like treasure goblins. What the fuck? Butcher on high keys is stupid? Oh, too bad.
Unique drops better the higher tier dungeons you do to actually encourage that beyond just glyph XP, which just isn't good enough. We also know we're going to eventually get a teleport to active Nightmare Dungeons, which will be a nice quality of life, but I'm not sure if that'll...
Here's some ways to fix Nightmare Dungeons, all right? Number 1, you have one that special affixes. Special positive affixes. Number 1, every elite is replaced with the butcher. Number 2, there are going to be hordes of treasure goblins. So there's like, you open up an area and there's like 20 treasure goblins in there. And you have to kill all of them. And if you kill all of them, you get some fucking special reward. That would be badass. Dopamine dungeons. Yep, that's what you call them. It's like you want to have dungeons that are really exciting and cool. And I think that they don't really have a lot of that shit. That's what's disappointing about it. Nightmare Dungeon only consists of there? Yeah. The Cellar Butcher is insanely hard compared to Dungeon Butcher. Should make a boss version of him like Diablo 1 and Diablo 3. Oh, like you go into like that fire area? Yeah, that'd be badass. Unique dungeons? I think that they should have unique dungeons. Like they should have unique dungeons that are callbacks to Diablo 1, 2, and 3. Like really iconic areas. Like, for example, isn't it weird that we don't have a dungeon of hell? Like, we don't have any dungeon of hell in Diablo 4. Diablo 4 is all about going to hell. We don't have any dungeons of hell. What the fuck? Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see that. And let's see, what other things would I like to see besides this? I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably a good amount, right?
Come in this patch. What we do know is Nightmare Dungeons are getting buffs and improvements, and I'm very interested to see what the scope of that is, and I really hope it's more than just, hey, they give you more XP. But what about the classes? It's fair to say
they need to just add in, like, for example, in PoE, doing maps. Let's think about the things that can happen in maps. I apologize, this is going to take a minute. Ascendancy, fucking Expedition, Harbinger, fucking Abyss, Alva. Oh my god. Breach, Blight, Mirror. Yes, Delirium Mirrors. Heist, June, Delve. Fucking Betrayal. Well, June is the same as Betrayal. Essences, Legions, Metamorphs. And they can be corrupted. You got Rituals. It's like you've got all of these fucking things that can happen on the map. And it's awesome. It's so awesome that people get fatigued by it. They're like, I can't handle all of this. Just let me run Rituals and that's it. Or let me run fucking Legions and that's it. They're like, please, I can't handle this. And they can all happen on the same map, yes. Whereas, like, it's Diablo 4 dungeons, and it's like, so yeah, basically, so this one, you're gonna have to go and rescue 4 guys. Okay, you did that? Okay, you gotta loot something, and there's gonna be a lot of range mobs around you. But if you try to loot it before you kill the range mobs, they're gonna hit you. Now, every 1 in 10 times you loot it before they hit you, and it's okay, so you're gonna do it every time, even though you waste your time overall, pisses you off. Then, okay, you got through that? Great. Now you have to kill everything in the entire area. Fuck you. Oh, wait, no, it's not over. Now you have to kill the Tomb Lord, too. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, is this a joke? What is this? What Animus carriers? And then the Animus, like, and it's just like... The Animus carriers don't drop the Animus instantaneously. It's like a half second after they die. So if you're trying to loot it before you move out for the on-death effect, sometimes it will still hit you. It's like little fucking things like that that are so goddamn annoying.
All classes could do with some buffs. What I mean by that is the incredibly underused abilities, skills, passives every class has. There's a couple meta builds per class, some with more options than others, due to the raw power and relevance of the aspects and abilities and skills tied to that build. Compared to that, there's very clear variance in power of abilities overall. Take the Blood Necromancer as a good example, one that I played around with. I wanted to make the Blood Wave Ultimate work. They even buffed it in the one...
I'm not really a big fan of the ultimate abilities in Diablo. I really wish that they would just do what Lost Ark does with the awakening skills, and they just put your awakening on a separate button. I really do. I wish they would just put it on a separate button, because I want to use my ultimate ability, but I feel like I never do, because I have to use a slot for it. I still have it for like kind of clear speed reasons, but yeah.
Patch we've seen so far for that. The reality is every Necromancer build is probably and really should be using the Bone Storm ultimate because it provides damage over time, damage reduction.
Bro, you shouldn't be using any of that. Use Bone Spear. That's the real ultimate. You get it at level 2.
Massive crit chance increases while active. You can use aspects to give it a massive shield or make it last longer, even alter the type of damage it does for the Shadow Blight build. All of that in one ultimate. Meanwhile, the Blood Wave deals low damage and there's a knockback, and we can get an aspect to make it fire off multiple times, but the multiples deal much less damage. So obviously the Bone Storm is a better ability. There's a lot more going on for it. This applies to all classes and so many abilities that aren't used because they're so weak by comparison. I mean, look at Barbarians as a top tier example. All of their builds are using the same 3 shouts because they're simply so good, nothing else.
It's so fucking boring. Spamming 3 abilities so you can spam 1 ability. Like, I'm sorry, but every functionality of the shouts should be baked into 1 shout. It's just stupid.
Can be taken. The Sorcerers are much the same, with using the same abilities with a tiny variety in their 1 or 2 abilities based on the build changes. And the way the current balance is, it ultimately just leads to certain few meta setups and their slight changes. What a waste it is to have so many interesting abilities, passive playstyles and so on that are underused or not played at all because they're so underpowered. This is where we expect some relevant buffs in this patch, and that's going to shift up the meta, which is going to be very interesting. What about class mechanic changes? Is there any hope for that? Well, we don't know. They've not really confirmed that. But it's something that, say, sorcerers are praying for. As the most popular class in Diablo 4 according to Blizzard themselves, it's rated the weakest class overall in the true endgame. To be clear, all classes do great in the endgame, but compared to one another, Sorcerer is having some clear problems. A major aspect is their extreme...
I feel like what I see from Sorcerer has incredible clear. But, I mean, I could be wrong.
Squishiness, and this could in fact be very much tied to element resistances that aren't working correctly as stated by Blizzard themselves.
That's true.
They're not providing enough impact to your survivability, and perhaps in the very design of sorcerers, they're meant to rely on element resists, but they're not working properly. They get a ton of it from their main stat, intelligence, and you know, their general defensives being element related, but it just doesn't play much of a...
That's actually a really good point, that like their main stat is supposed to give them a ton of resistances, like passively. That's kind of like how they're designed. And them not having that, yeah, that probably is really bad.
Role currently, according to Blizzard, they're hoping to get those reworked and
it's
much
like
more
I'm not a fan of
role.
like these mobs that like just kind of come in from like off screen and they charge you like this, right?
Role currently, according to Blizzard,
like I think that sucks.
They're hoping to get those reworked and much more impactful in Season 2. Not Season...
What the fuck are we talking about? Like, I really wish people would get behind me whenever I say this is fucking ridiculous. Do we have to wait until Season 2 for this shit? Get the fuck out of here.
Season 1, Season 2. And that's not happening anytime soon, basically. But there's other aspects of issues here, like the class demanding so much commitment to be able to run anything tied to mana, which feels kind of lame for the concept of a sorcerer casting spells. You know, one of the main meta options has you jump in and fight at melee, which is just funny. Or what about the
Yeah, they had that in Diablo 3 as well.
Enchantments, the class's main passive. You have this variety of options to create like different combinations.
I think this is really cool.
Conceptually, but the reality is that, say, the Firebolt enchantment has so much impact that it's sort of illusion of choice. By setting enemies on fire, there's many perks.
So is Fireball just the best one? It's the same as like Explodey Chest or like Impulsa in PoE? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That you can work into that concept that end up forcing sorcerers
to
lean
it was in
into
the
that
beta as well.
So impactful. Without some kind of improvement to the other options, that issue is just going to continue. I've heard and seen a good amount of calls for give us a third enchantment slot as an alternative solution to buffing the other enchantments, but that might go a bit too far in potential. On the other hand, in terms of class mechanic changes, Necromancer. It's a funny one because I'm a Necromancer main, right? And I think the class is very strong. And I honestly think Necromancer is one of the strongest classes right now based on its current meta builds. But I also think it's one of the worst, if not the worst, classes conceptually. Our current Necromancers are...
I completely agree with him. I 110, 150% agree with this. Necromancer... The best builds for Necromancer, minus like maybe one, should be with minions. Whenever I watch an endgame Necromancer, they never have minions.
Sacrificing all their minions to actually be strong, which is
so
hilarious.
weird.
A Necromancer who revives the dead to use them for their purposes. In all the pre-release content, the cinematics and so on, the Necromancer is, you know, summoning the dead. But in Diablo 4, it's only a niche-specific build that has real issues and weaker output, survivability problems, you know, compared to the actual meta builds that is using minions. I think, mechanically, it's the fact that summons take up too many ability slots. I can understand...
Yeah, summons take up way too many slots. And that's, again, like the problem is that if you were able to summon just like any of them with like one button, I think it'd be a lot better. No minion necro is just iron deficient barb. Yeah, it's like the whole point of the class. Yeah, what the fuck?
Understand one ability slot, right, but two is too much when we only have 6 slots, and that's barely enough for normal builds. On the other hand, the sacrifices provide so much benefit. You know, like major vulnerability
15%.
options, extreme crit damage increases, crit chance, shadow damage improvements, and
that's
so
insane.
on, while having minions.
Is that 30% multiplicative too? Because I feel like a lot of the talent tree ones are multiplicative. Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous.
Does not provide comparable benefits in any way. Now, I'm no dev or balance team working and testing these concepts out. Whatever I'm suggesting is not really going to be a straightforward fix. I know that, and I'm not claiming that I have the answers. I think it's a complicated thing, and so I'm hopeful that they've tried something.
It's not our job to fucking like. It's not Like, you don't have to be a game developer to be like, I think this is kind of weird that the class that's about pets, all the good builds don't have pets. That's kind of weird, huh?
And found a solution beyond just making like minions deal more damage or something. And yes, the blight, shadow, corpse explosion of Necromancer, the VFX of that is super obnoxious, and we would love to see that change where, you know, it doesn't stack the VFX so you can see nothing inside of it. A very simple concept, but maybe hard to implement. But on the other hand, it's a joke that Necromancer is so painfully slow to play.
Well, it's also like, I'm gonna be honest, even in the beta, I feel like Necromancer wasn't fun to play. Like, let's not even talk about speed. I just don't think it was fun to play. And I was hoping that that would be like my second main. The reason why I didn't like it is because I just felt like it was, maybe it's because I compared it a lot to PoE Necromancer. And in PoE with Necromancers, there are a lot of quality of life options. Like, you can make your minions attack one target. It's easier to see debuffs on minions. You don't have to, like, it's easier to resummon minions. It's just like it's not as fucking annoying.
Honestly offended when I swap between my rogue and Necromancer that my rogue is just walking at double the speed passively to begin with. Why are Necromancers so slow? Every class except Necromancer has incredible mobility options. But Necromancer, nah man, we just walking around like a slug. We'll catch up eventually. So yeah.
They should give Necromancers the ability that Leoric has in Heroes of the Storm, where he can walk quickly because he detaches from the corporeal realm and he becomes a spirit. Like, effectively like Spirit Walk, yeah. Like, I don't know why they don't just add that.
I really hope they give Necromancers some sort of way to move around faster, something at all. But that baby rage aside, those are some of the things that I'm hoping for, as well as the very few confirmed things we have currently. We're really hoping that it happens this Tuesday, because obviously we all want to test this out and get into a new meta well before Season 1 actually hits and changes and resets everything anyway. Time will tell, but let us know in the comments what you're hoping for. Maybe when it comes to the game as a whole, or maybe just specifically your class. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily...
I think this is actually a pretty good video, especially with, like, the, talking about the Necromancer shit. And, like, I didn't even know about... I feel like the resistance thing, that was actually probably the best point that he had in the entire video. Is the fact that, like, Sorcerer is probably extra squishy right now because they don't have those resistances. And if they had the resistances, it would be in a completely different, not a completely different spot, but it would be in a different spot, right? I don't think they'll change. We'll get anything in Season 1. I think that they will change things in Season 1. I'm expecting that. Nobody has the resistances at the moment, though. So you don't understand. So each different stat that you have scales different things. So strength scales armor, agility scales, I think, dodge and crit or something like that. Intelligence, a willpower scales, I think it's like a cost reduction, and intelligence scales resistances. So if you have an intelligence-based class and you remove the defensive scaling of their main stat, that's going to make them weaker and take more damage. Like, yeah. It's different on each class. I didn't know that. Yeah, I know for I guess Sorcerer, that's what it is. The Diablo 3 documentary shows so many great systems they scrapped so bad. Yeah, I didn't know that. Dodge and evasion failed for Diablo 3. I mean, they in turn got only armor. I don't even really like evasion in PoE, to be honest. I've never really been a fan of it. Like the lucky dodge stuff like that. It's like, oh fuck, I hate this shit. So like, I get it. Resistance scaling of intelligence has been the same for all classes. It's core skill damage that chances. Well, the resistance scaling of intelligence, but like sorcerers, again, sorcerers scale intelligence, barbarians and rogues don't. So sorcerers are going to naturally have more resistance. So if resistance is bad, then sorcerers are bad in that way. I don't know. I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah, Storks stacks intelligence. That's their main stat. First Andario's Visage dropped today. Yeah, I saw that. Let's see here. I'll link you guys the video one more time before we can move on. Storks, yeah. Armor's way too strong. Yeah, I think it could be. I'm not sure, though. Nobody really needs resistances right now, though. Yeah, but, like, imagine if Sorcerer had them and they worked properly. That would make Sorcerer more durable. That's the point I'm trying to get at.